So welcome everyone. My name is Vice Provost Holly Hutchins, and I am the lead of our faculty success team, which brings you every semester lots of wonderful programming initiatives and workshops. And this is one of my favorite to facilitate. It's a promotion workshop for lecturers, research, and clinical faculty. So thank you for carving out time for us today. And I know that your units do some sort of information, maybe workshops similar to this, but we always like to get faculty around the table to talk about more of the university approach. And as a faculty member myself for many years, overseeing promotion and tenure cases, I also thread through some best practices and suggestions that I've seen very effective, not only for me, but for faculty across their career trajectory. I also want to welcome Rebecca Howe. She's Assistant Director at FIS. And when we get to that more process piece, I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca to talk about all things FIS. And she is wonderful because she really can talk about FIS in a way that really clarifies the process. And she works intimately with that platform. So Rebecca, welcome. Thank you for being here. And Claudia Cooper is the Executive Assistant Master Organizer of Faculty Success. So Claudia will be helping out with the Zoom platform today. So I always start with this story, and it is about my first experience as a faculty member. And it was actually at this university, although I spent the majority of my time at the University of Houston as a tenure track and then tenured faculty member. But my first full-time teaching position was as a lecturer in the College of Business here at UNT. I was working on my PhD at the time in the College of Education, and I was a full-time lecturer. And I'll date myself and tell you how much I made annually. It was $35,000 a year. Can you believe that? $35,000 a year. And some of you in humanities might be saying, well, that's kind of what I make now, but I think all of you probably make quite a bit more than that now. But as a lecturer, I remember there were no career paths. There were no opportunities for promotion. You were just the teaching sort of person, right? Not a lot of developmental opportunities either. So I'm happy to say many decades later, I'm really dating myself now, that we have promotion paths, we have resources, and right now we're sitting at about 29% of our full-time faculty is our non-tenure track faculty. So I am not only along with you along this path, but certainly have had experiences where you are now. So I always want to share that story with you in terms of relatedness and my experience. And so today we will be talking about not only policy, but also process, as I mentioned before, and ideas and suggestions. This is meant to be interactive. And so I thought we would start with you sharing some information about yourself. You can do that in the chat. You can unmute your mic. That's fine. I will say that when we get to the Q&A part toward the end, and you can ask questions throughout, but if there's any time, any point you would like me to stop recording, let us know. And we're happy to do that. If it's a question you really don't want your question linked to our website for everyone to see, happy to do that. Happy to do that. So please just let me or Claudia know, and we can pause recording for that. Okay, so if you could just drop in the text or maybe unmute your name, rank, department, college, and something you're excited about today. I'll start with, I'm excited about, well, I was excited that we were going to get rain today because I just planted my garden. My wife and I planted our garden, so I have to give tributes to that. And I was excited for rain today, and we didn't get much rain today. So I'm excited about the possibility of more rain over the weekend. So that's what I'm thinking about. Beets, kale, lettuce, carrots, and tomatoes from seeds.
Very good.
Yes, thank you. So I'm going to check the chat. And again, let's see, Rebecca, lecturer in the physics department. Lisa McLucky Dane, is that how you pronounce it? Assistant professor accounting, College of Business. Are you a clinical assistant professor, Lisa?
No, I'm a tenure track assistant professor.
So Lisa, we will have the tenure track workshop next week. You're welcome to
Okay.
stay. You're welcome to stay, but you're going to be scratching your head on like, okay, why are we talking exclusively about non-tenure track faculty here? So, welcome to stay, but please check our promotion tenure workshop out next week.
Sounds good. I will do that.
Thank you. Hillary, excited to get more information on the promotion process, lecture in accounting department, College of Business. Let's see, yeah. Clinical assistant, Department of Marketing, College of Business. Wonderful. Well, I'm glad to see some people that are in the same college because, you know, our connection with each other and networks so important as we go up with promotion and whatnot. So we will go ahead and get started. And again, thank you so much for being here. So here's something else. What words come to mind when you think about a promotion review? And again, with our non-tenure track faculty, you're not on the clock. There's no requirement that you go up. It is simply optional. So it's a little bit different expectation and pressure than we have for our tenure system faculty. But still, many of our NTT faculty understandably want to progress. It's a money raise and our increase. It's responsibility. It's acknowledgement for the hard work that you've given to teaching and research, teaching, research, and service. If you're, have that kind of workload. So, but if you think about going up for promotion review, what are some words that come to mind? Don't think too hard about this. Evaluation, justification, evidence. Yeah. The chat is jumping around. Okay. Yeah. And as you contemplate that, again, don't think too much about it. It tends to be more negative, right? Like, in fact, when I usually ask this question, encouragement, okay, there's a positive, good. When I stress, yes, Rebecca. So a lot of times when I ask this question, it's more like stress, uncertainty, anxiety, those sort of things. And will knowledge and information that we're going to talk about today help eradicate that? Maybe, but I tend to say that it makes you more informed, which which helps you with some of that uncertainty. And while I would say that anxiety, stress, and that sort of thing is probably normal anytime there's any sort of assessment or evaluation, what you should not be is unclear about the target, about the criteria, about the process. And so that's really the goal today, is to help to make sure that you, wherever you are, whether it's you're going to go up next year or it's still 3 or 4 years away, that that you're clear about the process and policy, and that you come away with some good ideas about how to get more local information about your unit criteria, about the resources that you need, and the people to make connections with. So we hope to touch on all those emotions today through the information. So as I mentioned, understanding the promotion criteria, what it is and where to find it, identifying the promotion timeline, what happens when, and utilizing available resources that we provide. Colleges, some colleges do, I'll say, a better job than others with workshops and information, and sometimes that can feel really uneven. We are here as a constant, though. Rebecca here is a constant, and we are here to serve you and answer questions for you at any time. As I often say when we talk about faculty success, we are in service to you as faculty. So I'll start off with policy. And my first introduction to policy, I thought, okay, policy, yeah. I mean, yes, it's important, but am I going to spend time reading it? Well, the answer is you should read it. And if you don't necessarily want to read it, you need to have it where it's accessible. So one of the first tips that I suggest to faculty, regardless of where you are, tenure, non-tenure, is create a folder on your desktop and drop in a few things. Drop in your offer letter that describes the conditions of your employment. drop in the policy and other policies that may be relevant to you. That's when you see a 6.00 and a few other numbers, that means those are academic affairs policies. And those policies affect you, and there are other policies that are with different numbers, but all of those policies affect everything within academic affairs, from grievance and misconduct to promotion and tenure, annual review, and many, many other things. So unless you're a policy wonk, you're not going to want to go over those. But specifically, as you think about what are the requirements, what's the process, this is one of the more important policies. And so I recommend that you save this in a desktop, and you'll see under last updated. Occasionally we do updates to policies. In fact, we have a cycle of every so many years that policies go under review. And so it's important that you are aware of those. And so this is a good one as you're thinking about promotion. But promotion for our NTT faculty is really captured in this statement: sustained excellence. Sustained being an operative word, and you'll see what I mean by that in a little bit, in teaching, research, and or service. If you're a lecturer, you're not doing any research, so it's teaching, maybe some service. If you're a clinical assistant or associate professor, then it's probably a combination of teaching and research with a little service. And if you're a research professor, research, except maybe a little service. And so our non-tenure track faculty have a different kind of combination, if you will, of workload. But what this policy doesn't speak to, and that's where the second step comes in, is speak to really nuanced disciplinary unit level criteria. So I can talk about sustained teaching and excellence and the 12 different types of ways you demonstrate that. But your department, let's say Department of Emergency Management and Disaster Science, the Department of Marketing, Department of Management, Department of Physics, may have other articulations of what that means to you. So have the university policy, which is what you're looking at now, and have the policy that is, in some colleges and departments call it bylaws, sometimes they call it charter. Get that in front of you as well. Look at both, because while this is the umbrella description, your department and college are more than nuanced pieces of that. And those, we do have links to our promotion and tenure criteria for every college off of our, I call it VPAA, it's Vice President of Academic Affairs. You can also find all policies on our policy.unt.edu website there, and it's searchable. In fact, you can look at all 6,000 level. You can search it by word, keyword, et cetera, et cetera. But two important policies: university and then your college and department. So let me talk about the first pillar in this that is probably shared across most of you in terms of your workload, and that's teaching excellence, and that is in 06.007. So in this policy, it defines what teaching excellence means. And I'll just ask for you, and you can do just to look at a little emoticon there. I think we have reactions here. Do we have reactions on the board here? Maybe not. But just drop in there. What do you immediately think of as a measure of teaching excellence? So if sustained excellence in teaching is a major criteria of promotion and of your annual review, how is that measured? What comes up for you immediately? You think of how that's measured? Spot. Student comments, student outcomes, etc. Yeah, and this is where there's a bit more nuance, perhaps, could be portfolios. Your teaching portfolio review. So it's going to differ across units, but here's what's important, and this is in policy, and I'm going to say it twice, and I'll say it over and over, that spot is not the only indicator. And so we are working and making sure deans and chairs know that there need to be more indicators of teaching excellence. It's just not student evaluation. And I'm giving you some examples here. These are examples from policy that indicate different ways of assessing excellence. And I think it's important not only that you're aware of that it's just not SWOT, but that you also think about how you demonstrate. So every annual performance review, you write up how you demonstrated teaching excellence. I suggest that you look at this and think and with your unit criteria and identify at least 3 ways that you're doing this. And for instance, study abroad experiences. Maybe that's only once, or maybe not at all. But developing and applying technological innovations, applying effective pedagogical practices, service learning perhaps. Those might be things that trend across all of your years and semesters of teaching. So as you think about teaching excellence, of course, SPOT scores are but one indicator of that, student evaluations, but thinking about other ways of demonstrating that. And of course, talking to your chair and talking to your others that have gone up for promotion about what they demonstrate and what's important to you. Technological innovations, sure. That could be, I work with an instructional designer in my college to design a simulation. Maybe I embed a flipped classroom approach in my class. Maybe I start using clickers and I assess, the impact of that across, semesters. Maybe I use some form of artificial intelligence. It's been about 3.5 years since I've been in the classroom. So I'm just trying to give some examples of things that we're seeing now, but also some of the things that I use. But others, please fill the chat if you're thinking about different ways. The tools in Canvas, sure, especially if those things are new to you. One of the things I would often talk about is how I've evolved my pedagogical practices over time, what I've brought into the classroom, whether that is, back at UH, we had internal grants for student success. And so I embedded service learning in my course as an assistant professor. And that not only brought, and it was service learning, so there wasn't any sort of money exchange or anything. It was just in service to local nonprofits. So we did Girl Scouts of San Jacinto County, which is a huge, huge area, and just north of Houston. And so that was something I talked a lot about, and the impact of that on students, etc. Did that help? Yes, maybe you develop an embedded mentoring experience for your students.
Please say that again.
I said maybe you develop an embedded mentoring experience for your students. And I'll give you one example. One of the programs I was affiliated with was our Executive Master's Program. And we recruited our alumni to serve as mentors to these executive students who were either in career transitions or they were emerging leaders in their field, et cetera. And our alums loved it, stayed connected to our program. Our students benefited from it. And that's something that we created and managed. And some of those mentors are still connecting today. So that's an example of something. So it could be, yes, mentoring is something that you do anyway, but maybe it's you develop an embedded mentoring experience for your students. Maybe you develop really innovative assignments, speaking to those things and thinking about, again, your unit criteria, your unit mission and vision, the university mission and vision as well. That helps as reviewers, look at how is this individual helping us with our overall mission and vision. So that's something important as well. Great questions here. Service being another element. And here are some examples, again, from 6.007. And this is the policy that describes each of the areas, each of the criterion, sorry about that. So demonstrated leadership and engagement. It could be in professional organizations. It could be as an advisor to a student organization. It could be a university representative in a lot of our organizations have spin-off of student organizations. So if I think about in my realm, disciplinary realm, Society of Human Resource Management professionals are SHRM there's usually a student SHRM organization affiliation with that, for instance. We have lots of opportunities to engage in service at the university. There are faculty resource groups. I know the NTT faculty resource group is incredibly active. I love that group. Love all the FRGs, but the NTT FRG is especially active and really enjoy working with them. Maybe you take on a leadership role there, lead an initiative. And then maybe you also have a passion for recruitment and retention or student success. And so you're on committees within your unit, on committees at the university level. These are the kind of ways of service and engagement. Are there any questions about service? And the important thing is to think about, your workload percentage. What's your percentage of teaching out of 100? What's your percentage of service? And, think about what's contributing, to each of those. Some service commitments are heavier than others. One of the first service commitments I had as an assistant professor was on the undergraduate academic curriculum committee. Woo, that is a heavy load, but such an important. So it was a great developmental experience. I didn't need to do it again because it ate up so much time. But that was my only service that I did because it was such a hefty service obligation. And so, thinking about, not all service is created equally. And where can you share your gifts? What's really important for you? What is something that resonates with you? Many of our NTT faculty are part of our diversity and equity councils within colleges and departments because that's something I really feel passionately about. And so, thinking about the need, thinking about where your interests lie, is it intersectionally with your curriculum and what you teach? And know that you may be asked to serve in more ways than you really should be. And so that's also, something that I had to learn at early on in my career, that no is a complete sentence. And here's why, always with justification, or maybe not now, but maybe later. A few ways of addressing that as well. Now, how do you know how you're doing? Well, hopefully you're getting feedback along the way. Of course, from students, there's a way to, assess kind of where your students are, other than at the very end, having, check-ins with your department chair. But for policy, there's an annual review that happens every year, and where you're provided feedback on your research, teaching, and service, whatever combination that you have, by your PAC. We call them Personal Affairs Committee here at UNT. And how it should go is that you receive a letter from your chair that summarizes the PAC review and feedback, and that conversation is really coaching and advising. What are some ideas and opportunities as we look at your promotion criteria that you need to enhance, that you need to maybe pull back on? Maybe you're good, so let's talk about some additional ways, or maybe looking at some other ways and other areas of your work. It's a great time to ask questions, and keep in mind that, okay, I know there are time limits relative to going up for promotion. What do I need to achieve each year to make steady progress toward that? And what resources do you need? So it's a great opportunity for a check-in relative to that. And it is something that is in policy. So know that. But continued check-ins are always a good thing. Don't wait 12 months or 10 months before you have that initial check-in. Is paid service internally like creating TV advertising? Could you tell me a little bit more about that, Tina? I'm not sure I understand the question.
Hi, Holly. Thank you very much. I don't think I finished the typing before
Okay.
it went. So I'm sorry it didn't go across fast enough for our service discussion. The service, what if we're giving a stipend to actually run a television advertising campaign, which I've been paid to do. I'm literally created the ad, you know, monitored the creative on it, deployed the creative, monitored the, but I was actually paid a stipend for actually doing that. Does that also include service?
Tina, that's a
Something
great
that I could,
question. The answer is yes, and a strong
okay,
yes. And because many
okay,
of our faculty are paid either a stipend or task payment or augmentation, we call it. Or they get a course release for being a program director, which they count as service. So
right.
yes, as long as it's in service of the university, your unit, students, et cetera, then you can include that. Wonderful. And just as a reminder, if we're gonna share, which I'm so glad Tina did, that's a great question and sometimes a common experience. Make sure that, you know, just let us know if you want us to pause recording there. Okay. So again, use your annual review as a good check-in for progression toward promotion. It's a great opportunity again to get some additional information. I now want to transition to promotion criteria per rank. And you're going to see some commonalities from assistant to associate to professor across each of the three areas of our non-tenure track faculty. We have lecturers, we have clinical faculty, and we have research faculty. I'm going to do those in the order that I've just shared. Now you may be thinking, wow, that bullet point appeared and it wasn't supposed to. It was out of order. No, actually, that's very intentional because that is a constant across all of the slides relative to each rank. So important that you consult with your department chairperson to determine the opportune time for promotion. Now, let me expand upon that. You do not need to ask permission or wait to be tapped on your shoulder to go up for promotion. There are criteria and policy, and if you meet those, and if you feel like you're ready, you know, hopefully your department chairperson is on board. But I would really encourage you as you, and that's why promotion is a stair step, right? Like it's progressive, that you know, view each year as an opportunity to learn and expand, document, have all of your annual review letters, and go into that discussion with evidence that you are indeed ready, not just time and seat, but that you have demonstrated the criteria all the way through. And I say this to our tenure system faculty too, when they're considering going up for promotion to professor. Some department chairs are very active and developmentally focused in the sense of, you know, making sure that their associates are making good progress. And some have different priorities with that. And so, you know, always being mindful of where you are in terms of your performance. And when you're ready, you know, you're ready. And it's good to have others' perspectives in that. But that's why I said consult. You don't need permission. So, promotion from lecturer to senior lecturer. There's 2 steps in this. There's to senior, and then principal is the one, is the rank higher than senior. So sustained excellence in teaching and service. We've talked a little bit about what that looks like. You should have at least 3 consecutive years, 6 long semesters as a lecturer before applying for promotion. Now, you may have wondered why I said another document in that desktop folder should be your offer letter. Sometimes our lecturers or clinical or research professors are coming from another university or coming from a long career, and in your offer letter, the chair may have given you credit for these years. So for instance, if you're coming from a situation like that, instead of 3 years, maybe they credit you a year. So you just need 2 consecutive years. But that offer letter is binding. And so it's important that that it's stated there, because if not, it's this at least 3 consecutive years in rank as a lecturer before applying for promotion. And that's a reasonable amount of time, at least in my mind, because when you're acclimating to a new environment, you're acclimating to new leadership structure, maybe you're acclimating to a new subject area, course, student population, et cetera. And so sometimes lecturers are in rank for more than 3 years because they feel like they really want to get to a point that they refine their teaching style, you know, and they decide to go up. But that is what is in policy, at least 3 consecutive years. And again, I should click through this all the way. Professional experience may count toward promotion, but it's going to be captured in the offer letter. And that's what will be binding there. Now, if I move forward to principal lecturer, again, some similarities here. But here, if I want to go up to principal, I need at least 5 consecutive years or 10 semesters of full-time college level teaching, including at least 3 years at the rank of senior lecturer or equivalent professional experience. And so, of course, the 5 consecutive years of full-time college teaching, that counts if you're moving from lecturer to senior to principal. But again, you have at least 3 years in rank at senior lecturer before going up. So it's very time bound, in addition to, of course, the criteria that we talked about with teaching and service. Now, before I move off lecture to now the clinical group, any questions about the lecturer? And welcome to those that have come in since I've been talking.
Yes, I have a question. This is Tina.
Hey, Tina, do you want us to pause anything?
Yes, that might be a good idea.
Okay. So let's go to promotion to clinical associate professor. Again, you see this standard language here relative to the conversation with your department chairperson. Excellence in primary domain of workload assignment. So teaching or research, and sustained effectiveness in the other. So clinical professors usually have a combination of the different workload areas or buckets, if you will, teaching, research, or service. The clinicals have a primary domain, and the way in which where clinicals are, if you're a clinical in health, actually, I can't say HPS, then it may look different than if you're clinical in the College of Business, in terms of your workload, or clinical in the College of Engineering. And so that is always going to be relative to which college that you're in. And so once you have at least 5 consecutive years or 10 semesters at the rank of clinical assistant professor or equivalent professional experience before applying. So we see a different number here for our clinical track faculty. As you are, and again, the equivalent experience noted in your offer letter. And then to make the jump to the clinical professor rank is very, it's the same, primary domain, excellence in that. Once you have at least 10 semesters or have equivalent experience in college level clinical, professional, or practicum assignments, including at least 3 years in rank at the associate level. So very similar to the lecturer situation, a certain number of years, and then a portion of those years need to be in rank at that of a clinical associate professor. And again, could be in your offer letter that gives you credit toward this number. And so all that is a part of the conversation. And if it wasn't part of the conversation, then going back and having a conversation with your department chair relative to that. Let's get chat. Who makes the final decision? Is it the chair or the committee? It's a recommendation. Let me get clarification on that. The decision to go up or the decision to whether your promotion is granted? Promotion granted. It's the dean, actually. So the decision is, it goes to the it's from the PAC to the department chair, and then the dean. It's a recommendation to the dean. Yeah.
Can I please clarify on that point?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Can I ask for clarification on that point?
Sure.
So let's say that we prepare our package together and it goes to the PAC first.
Mm-hmm.
And then the PAC will make the recommendation and send to the chair, and the chair to the dean.
Mm-hmm.
So you have mentioned that you when we prepare to go up, we will consult with the chair and say when we can apply. So it can be at any time during the year. But then the PAC has to get together and evaluate our application.
Great question. We're going to go over the timeline in a few minutes. There is a promotion process timeline that you have. And so that's one of the things that Rebecca's team facilitates, is that there's a specific there's steps in it that are time bound that you and your department chair have to follow to go up for promotion. So it's not just whenever someone wants to during a given year. Rebecca would run Spring Into the Woods if that was the case. So we'll go over the timeline in just a second. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but that means that I'm waiting for the timeline information, right?
Yes. And all of that is public facing, so it's not just in this information. That's available there. Do we have any research professors on the line? I don't think we do, but I'm going to just quickly go through this. There is a third category of NTT, which is Associate Research Professor. There is a primary domain, and then, of course, some time-bound information here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, since I don't think there's any research professor. Same thing here. Again, being time-bound. So, required dossier content. This process I'm going to pause here. Rebecca, do you want to cover this, or you want me to do this, and then you can go through the timeline?
It doesn't matter. I will say, yes, the very first thing is your VPAA 174. That is on the VPAA website. As non-tenured faculty, your VPAA is due May 1st. So, Dr. I'm not sure your name, TDN0003, if you are interested in going up for promotion, then as Vice Provost Hutchins said, consult with your chair and complete the form, and then send it to the faculty information email, which I can give you later. We've had a lot of questions that the chairs and the faculty think they need to upload it into their FIS, and that is not correct. Just email it to us, and we will make sure that that you're on the list. So
I'm sorry, email you and telling you that what? I'm sorry.
you have to complete the VPAA 174 form.
Okay. Yes.
And that, yes. And as Vice Provost Hutchins said, consult with your chair.
Yes.
And then they or you can email it to faculty.info@unt.edu, or myself.
Okay. When in that process of emailing about what, saying what, that I'm going to ask, I'm asking for a promotion. Is that the purpose of the email?
Well, as soon as you complete the form and send it to us, then we know you want to go up for promotion.
Okay.
We can't do anything without the form.
I see what you're saying. Okay. And the email should be by May 1st?
Yes.
Okay. The email to you should be by May 1st.
Correct. If you know sooner, then please send it sooner. The drop dead deadline is May 1st.
All right.
It's a hard deadline.
Okay.
We have a website. It's the vpaa.unt.edu and /FIS, and then tenure and promotion. And we have flow charts up there for the 23-24 cycle.
Okay. So I am not eligible according to my contract until after the spring of next year. When should I email you?
Next year.
A year.
Next year.
Yeah, this time next year.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely, because they're going to be handling dossiers for this coming year.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, but here's something. Put that on your calendar. Put it as a reminder on your calendar. And don't just put May 1st deadline. Put, okay, March, have a conversation with my chair. Or,
Okay.
you know, during annual review this year, I want to go up next year. Here's what I've done. Here's how I meet the criteria. What do you see that I need to be doing, or am I on track? Okay, and then make that calendar so you have time to put everything together.
Got
We
it.
have the information available because it's required by policy 6 months in advance. So, so this summer we'll be working on the next segment of promotion cycles and annual review cycles. So, so you have an idea of what is due when.
Okay.
Claudia, can you get those website links? I tried to type those from memory, and I think it went to a blank screen. So if you could drop those into the chat for everyone, thanks so much. Is the list of people who have applied for promotion. There's not a list that's forward facing for people that have applied for promotion. Hillary, yeah, I think you got the answer based on this last conversation. Want to be promoted, I need to turn in the VPA to my chair and to you. I'd have the conversation with your chair and have that completed. And then he, or they can submit it, or you can submit it. Yeah. Okay. So just really quickly, you know, each of these steps, you get a sense of the work that's involved. I'll tell you that, you know, making sure that you have your CV updated and complete. And although that seems like pretty simple, Rebecca will nod her head here that sometimes we get CVs that aren't current, and that does an injustice to you. So when I gave the recommendation just now, set it in your calendar now. First of all, keep your CV updated. It's a living document. You're going to forget what you did last August. Keep that in your that desktop folder as well. Always keep it updated, but certainly plan a few months ahead to do a thorough review of that. Misspellings, awkward formatting, all of that. Your narrative, it's only 750 words. That's what, about a page and a half. It's very difficult to write. And I say that having done it many times. You think it might be easy to do it, but if you think about, you know, how do I want to frame my story? Because this is your story, right? A story of what you've done, what you're doing. How do I want to frame it? Because it's going to be one of the first things that the PAC, your chair, and perhaps the dean will review. So what I did was I didn't write it like an obituary. I've done, I did, etc. I thought about the mission of, at this point, University of Houston. I thought about the impact I'd made, not just what I did, not just how many classes I taught, but the impact of those classes. Did I develop new classes? What was the impact on that? How did I meet a student need by this new class? How did I meet a student need for success relative to this embedded mentoring? So think about you as your own brand, and think about it as a story. Reach out to others to get it reviewed. Reach out to others to share their narratives that have been successful in their promotion. Don't hurry through this. You know, it's a challenging 750 words to write, and to get it down to 750 words. It's really not a whole lot of room. So give priority to that as well. And then the other things are I think pretty explanatory. So the promotion criteria, right? Results of annual evaluations and evidence of mentoring support. Mentoring support is in policy. So involvement in our faculty resource groups, the mentoring that you received in the beginning, maybe you still have mentors, both internal and external. And so, you know, be sure that you document that too. And you may have to kind of scratch, like, who are my mentors? What experience have I, you know, benefited from? FIS does provide your student evaluations relative to teaching. These are SPOT. But remember, that's but one thing. So, you know, elaborate on other aspects of teaching effectiveness. And then the rest are just the reviews that happen at each level. Okay. But this is what goes into the dossier. And the big chunk of this that's driven by you happens in the beginning. And so again, really important to understand the time that needs to go into that, because if you hurriedly put it together, there's mistakes. Even though the content is good, it's going to impact how people read that and perceive that. So dedicate schedule time to work on this. Great, thank you so much. Sorry about that. I was looking at the chat and then it jumped ahead. Sorry, can you clarify? Why did you read this to? Can you clarify which email address to send BPAA to after I send my share? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, let's talk about flowchart. So for faculty, the actual, I'm sorry, Rebecca, let me turn this over to you because you make these beautiful flowcharts. Sorry about that.
So yes, the first step is yours and you have to upload all your documentation. One thing I really, Vice Provost Hutchin is so on topic. I mean, I love the policy. I really do thrive on the policy because it tells me exactly what is needed. And then your department policy will then usually enhance what is needed. But non-tenure policy is only 5 pages, so it won't quite put you to sleep at night. It might make you drowsy, but anyway, so really do delve into the policy. But the first step is you, and you the main thing that you do is you have to upload your stylized CV. So we do not use the FIS provided CV primarily for promotion, primarily because we have colleges like CVAD and music, and they really have stylized CVs. Economists, not necessarily so. So you are able to upload your own stylized CV. And then we do upload all the spot course summary evaluations and statistical reports. And so you're a lecturer going up for senior lecture, we will take the time that you have as a lecturer and we will average and make a statistical analysis of that entire time and upload it into your dossier. Then we also upload the committee memberships. This is something that if you know, so departments do different things, and sometimes departments have a non-tenured track pack group, and sometimes they don't. So be aware of who is on your pack group. Just if you have some concerns, you might bring it up to your unit administrator. And then so we just facilitate everything. So I do want to say something. Say you submitted your dossier on August 26th, and then you thought, oh no, I forgot to submit this. Pull it back. You can recall your dossier. You can upload it. You can upload everything, save it as a draft, and then on August 31st, you can move it to the next step. This is the most important thing. Well, maybe not the most important thing, but it's one of the most important things you do in your career. And I do not want anyone stressed. We no panicking. We do not like panicking. So please holler at us and before you have any meltdowns, uh, let us have the meltdowns for you and find a solution. But yes, one of the new features that we're going to have this year, if anyone is interested, is we're going to be able to, we're testing it. The vendor has allowed us to automatically go to previous annual reviews, and you can select that. So you won't have to go out of the dossier, go find your annual review and upload it. So that'll make it easier for you. Really the hardest part is your stylized CV and your self-narrative. We try to make it very simple for it to just flow through. Is
Oh.
there any questions?
Thanks, Rebecca. Someone just mentioned that BPA 174 form is incorrectly linked.
It has something to do with coaching, which has nothing to do with the
Coaching?
yeah. If you click on the form, it is something completely off.
So as Rebecca's looking at that, I'm gonna go ahead and transition. I know that we are bumping up against time. So the third goal was to just make sure that you knew about the different resources that we have. We have writing groups that we sponsor through Faculty Success. Check out our calendar. The National Center for Faculty Development and Diversity, NCFDD, has a lot of resources for you. I have participated in this, and it is a wonderful platform. Every faculty can sign up for this. If you Google this and do plus UNT, you'll can register and be on it in just a few moments. We have mentoring grants. We're about to send a call out for individual and team mentoring grants for this next academic year. We have many NTT faculty that apply for that. That would be something that you would include under mentoring, in addition to other service, perhaps. And then faculty resource groups, I've mentioned that as well. So big thing, prepare now. Know your policy, know your criteria at both the college, university, and department level. We've talked a lot about process today and giving you some resources and the documentation that you'll need. Developing your story, your narrative as a story with evidence. I before have drawn a Venn diagram, my research areas, my teaching areas, what's the overlap there, and really focus on that. That may be helpful to some, maybe may not be helpful for some. And then ask for and develop your support networks. I've mentioned a few here, but there are others as well. So we're getting right under the wire here in terms of information. If you would also want to give us some feedback, if you'll hold your camera up, if it's handy, this will take you to a survey that you can complete and give us some feedback on this session. But happy to hang out for a little bit. If you'll stop recording, Claudia, you can also